the first man to climb Mount Everest? Hillary? Tenzing Norgay? I'm sure you all remember that. Who was the second? Hardly anyone knows. The reason for that is that you remember the firsts always very, very well. Like I remember the 7th of October 1955. It was a day full of amazing firsts for me. Well, the first, of course, was that was the first time in this lifetime that I was actually born. And believe me, being born is a life-changing experience. It was a first for my parents also, because I was their firstborn. It was a first for the doctor, because I understand that in her long practice, it was the first time that she had actually picked up an ugly baby and said, "देखिए कितना सुंदर बच्चा पैदा हुआ है." Another first was a first for the nurse. She had never seen a baby who, on being born, had not cried. She lifted me up. I looked at her and instead of crying, winked. My wife still believes that I made up that story to justify a lot of wrongdoings later on in life. But fact remains that yes, I did wink at her. If you don't believe it, go and check with the nurse. She has been dead for 20 years. It was a first for her because it was the first time that the first thing a baby had done on being born was wink at her. And so she blushed, which was a first for me because I had never ever seen a woman blush till that time. And believe you me, I've been a fan of blushing women all my life since then. It was also a first for the nurse because it is the first time that she had blushed because a baby had winked at her. Gosh, how many firsts were there on that day for the simple reason that I was born? Well begun, they say, is half done. Believe you me, it's not half done, it's all done. Like this speech engaged you. It engaged you because it started with something which was interesting. Whether you are speaking, whether you are writing an article, whether you are writing a book, the first thing that you say must be so engaging, so riveting that it grabs the attention of the people. Unless it does that, nobody is going to give you eyeballs, nobody is going to read your book, nobody is going to read your article, nobody is going to listen to your speech at all. See, attention spans are short. And it is only in the first 15 or 20 seconds that people make up their mind whether they want to listen to you or not. And if you spent those 15 or 20 seconds in saying something like, you know what, I was not prepared to speak, but when I came up here and I was requested by these people, I decided to share something with you. Or, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, Mrs. Secretary, Mrs. President, Mrs. this, Mrs. that, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. By that time, all those who were gentlemen have gone away and all the ladies have switched off. You can't do that. You've got to get straight to the point and you've got to start your speech with something that catches their attention and holds their attention. Of course, you'll also catch their attention if you just slip on a banana peel and fall down. That's not going to be relevant. You've got to do things which are relevant to your speech and go on from there. Like this talk about the beginning. This was because I was going to talk today about beginning speeches, beginning written words. Keep this in mind. Whenever you begin a speech, begin with either a question. I asked you one today. Remember, who was the first person to climb Everest? Set your minds thinking. State an odd fact. I could have said, do you remember that of the 9732 people who have climbed Mount Everest, Edmund Hillary was the first? I could have told you a story like I did now. I could have used humor. These are the 4 standard hooks on which you can get audience attention, you can get them to love you, you can get them to like you tremendously, and you can have them cheering for you much after the speeches are over. So stay tuned to us on Pack a Punch Saturdays when we share at the Speak to Change Foundation tips on effectively communicating what you have to say. Of course, if you have any questions you want answered in these tips, if there are specific issues you want addressed, please put in a comment on the WhatsApp group, on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, wherever you are watching this video, and we'll come back to you in the following Saturdays with an answer to that, with a comment on that. Of specific interest is a comment made, I think the Saturday before last by somebody who asked me how he could increase the bass and baritone in the voice. I propose to answer this in one of the coming Saturdays. More questions are welcome. And if you really want to improve your speaking skills, if you want to go into detail about how to start your speech better, come and
join the Speak to Change family.